All right, so we are diving deep into this novel, Daughtero.pdf.
Okay.
And let me tell you, it's a wild ride. We're talking witches, forbidden romance, a prophecy that'll send chills down your spine.
Hmm.
It's got everything.
It's really quite a captivating blend of supernatural horror
Yeah.
and those classic teen drama tropes.
Right, right. Like imagine Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets like a really intense episode of Riverdale, but
Exactly.
with a dash of like existential dread thrown in for good measure.
Yeah, I think the author really nails that unsettling atmosphere.
Oh, for sure. And speaking of unsettling, let's talk about our protagonist, Sabrina Spellman.
Okay.
Half witch, half mortal, trying to juggle two worlds and not always making the best decisions.
Well, that's the heart of her struggle, isn't it? This constant push and pull between her mortal life and her witch heritage.
It's like she's being pulled in two different directions.
Yeah.
And sometimes that leads to some serious consequences.
Like, for example, when she decides to bring her ex-boyfriend's brother back from the dead.
Oh my gosh, that was a game changer.
Talk about a moral dilemma. I mean, her intentions were good, right?
Yeah.
But the consequences were, well, pretty devastating.
And that's what's so fascinating about this book, how it explores the gray areas of magic. It's not all black and white, good versus evil.
Right.
There's this whole spectrum of moral ambiguity, and Sabrina is right in the middle of it.
Yeah, and it really forces you to think about the limits of power and who gets to decide what's right and wrong when you're dealing with magic.
It's like, who are we to play God, even with good intentions?
Exactly.
And poor Harvey, Sabrina's ex-boyfriend, he's really caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, he is.
Imagine dealing with the grief of losing your brother and then finding out the magical world is real.
Oh, and that your ex-girlfriend is a witch who may or may not have something to do with it.
It's a lot to process.
His perspective is so important because it shows us the impact of Sabrina's choices on the mortal world.
Right. It grounds the story in a reality that we can relate to.
He represents that fear and distrust of magic that many mortals feel. A fear that's deeply rooted in history, you know.
Speaking of history, let's not forget about the witch hunters.
Oh, yeah.
They add a whole other layer of tension to the story.
The author does a brilliant job of connecting that historical context to the present day.
Yeah, it's not just some abstract concept.
Right.
It's like this very real threat that hangs over the entire town.
It's embodied in Harvey's father, who's a witch hunter himself, carrying on a legacy of hatred and violence.
It makes you think about how prejudice can be passed down through generations, how fear can become ingrained in a family's DNA.
Absolutely.
It's like this cautionary tale about the dangers of blindly following tradition and the importance of questioning everything.
Especially when it comes to something as powerful and potentially dangerous as magic.
Right. But let's shift gears for a second and talk about the prophecy.
Okay.
This prediction of a prince of hell coming to Greendale, it's like a ticking time bomb.
It adds a sense of urgency to the whole story.
Like everything is leading up to this potentially catastrophic event.
And it's all triggered by something seemingly insignificant.
Right.
The banishment of a bad luck spirit.
What a domino effect.
Exactly.
One small action leading to potentially world-altering consequences.
What's interesting is how that prophecy reflects the anxieties of the characters. They're all dealing with their own personal struggles, and this prophecy just amplifies those fears.
It's like this external manifestation of the internal turmoil they're all experiencing.
Precisely.
Okay, so speaking of turmoil, let's talk about Nick Scratch.
Oh, Nick.
This charming warlock, he's so mysterious. I can't figure him out.
It's the beauty of his character, right? He's this enigma, a blend of charm and danger.
Yeah. It's like, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy?
He's protective of Sabrina,
Yeah.
but he's also reckless and secretive.
You never know what he's going to do next,
Right.
which makes him so compelling.
And adds a whole other layer of complexity to Sabrina's already complicated life.
Absolutely. And speaking of compelling characters, we can't forget about Prudence Knight.
Oh, Prudence.
She starts as this rival to Sabrina, but their relationship, it evolves in some really unexpected ways.
Prudence's journey is all about challenging those initial assumptions.
Yeah, like at first she seems cold and ambitious.
Very much so.
But then we see these glimpses of vulnerability, especially when it comes to her infant brother.
That responsibility really changes her.
It's like she softens a bit, you know?
Yeah, and it's through that vulnerability that she starts to connect with Sabrina.
It's like they find common ground in their shared experiences.
They both know what it's like to be an outsider,
To be different.
to not quite fit in.
And that shared understanding forms the basis of a really powerful alliance.
An alliance that becomes even more crucial as the threat to Greendale intensifies.
Yeah, with a prince of hell on the horizon and witch hunters on the loose.
Mm,
Sabrina and her friends are going to need all the help they can get.
they are in need.
And it's not just about these external conflicts, right?
No, not at all.
This book also delves into the internal struggles of each character.
Yeah.
They're all grappling with questions of identity, morality, their place in the world.
And those internal struggles often mirror the larger conflicts happening around them.
It's like the personal is political.
Exactly. And the author uses such vivid imagery to convey these complex themes.
Yeah.
That academy made of pentagrams.
Yeah.
That creepy book bound in human skin.
So disturbing.
These details create this unsettling atmosphere.
It just seeps into your bones as you read. And those witchy traditions and rituals, they're both familiar and otherworldly at the same time.
They give us a glimpse into a culture that's hidden in plain sight.
It's like this secret world existing alongside our own.
And Sabrina, being half witch, half mortal, is caught right in the middle of it.
Yeah, she's the bridge between these two worlds.
And as the story unfolds, that bridge is going to be tested in ways she never could have imagined.
Oh, I know, right? It's like, how is she going to reconcile these two sides of herself?
It's a question that keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole way through.
For sure, for sure.
So as we get deeper into this story, .roa.pdf,
Yeah.
you start to see how intertwined those two worlds really are, you know, the witch world and the mortal world.
Yeah, it's like they're constantly bumping up against each other.
Exactly.
And Greendale, it's like the epicenter of this collision.
It is.
It's a town with like a serious identity crisis.
Right.
And Sabrina, well, she's a walking, talking embodiment of that conflict.
Obviously.
Like her relationship with Harvey is a perfect example.
Hmm.
He's just so out of his depth when it comes to magic.
He is.
At first, I think he's kind of intrigued by it, you know? The mystery, the excitement.
Yeah, I think there's a part of him that's drawn to it.
But ultimately, his fear wins out.
It does.
And it makes sense when you consider his family history. His father, a witch hunter, carrying on this legacy of hatred.
It's a chilling reminder that the past isn't as distant as we like to think.
It's like the shadow that hangs over the present.
Mm-hmm.
And the author, I think they do a really brilliant job of connecting that historical context to what's happening in the story right now.
They do.
It's not just some abstract concept, you know?
No.
It's like this palpable threat.
It is.
And that fear, it's like a virus.
Oh, yeah.
Spreading through the town, infecting everyone it touches.
It affects the mortals,
Mm-hmm.
but it also affects the witches,
Oh, for sure. They're living in constant fear of being discovered.
of being persecuted.
It's like they're trapped in this pressure cooker, always waiting for the next attack.
And Sabrina, she's trying to navigate both worlds,
Yeah.
not fully belonging to either.
It's got to be exhausting.
It is.
No wonder she makes some impulsive decisions.
Like bringing Tommy back from the dead.
Oh, man, that was a turning point.
It was.
I mean, talk about good intentions gone wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
It just backfired so spectacularly.
It did.
And it really pushed Harvey away.
It reinforced all his fears about magic.
Yeah, and it raises all these questions about the moral complexities of magic, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just about wanting to do good.
No.
It's about understanding the potential consequences, especially when you're dealing with forces that you don't fully comprehend, like playing with fire.
Exactly.
And Sabrina, as powerful as she is, she's still young. She makes mistakes.
But that's how we learn.
Right? Yeah.
Through those mistakes.
Yeah, and she's surrounded by all these other characters who are equally complex and compelling.
Like Nick Scratch.
Oh, Nick, he's a total wild card.
He is.
So charming, so dangerous.
You never know what he's going to do next.
It's like, is he a friend? Is he a foe? Is he something in between?
He's got that dark side,
Yeah.
but there's also a sense of vulnerability there.
And his feelings for Sabrina, they're intense.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if he doesn't always show them in the most conventional ways. It's not your typical teenage romance, that's for sure.
No, it's not.
It's like this slow burn, this dance between two very powerful personalities.
Who are both drawn to each other,
Yeah.
but also wary of each other.
It's a push and pull.
It is.
And then there's prudence.
Oh, Prudence.
She goes through such a remarkable transformation.
She does.
From rival to, I don't know, almost a friend.
Well, she definitely becomes an ally.
Yeah, it's her relationship with her baby brother, Judas, that really changes her.
It unlocks something in her.
It's like she finally finds a sense of belonging.
Yeah, and that newfound sense of purpose, it gives her the strength to stand up for what she believes in.
Even if it means defying authority.
Even if it means facing down danger.
It's really inspiring in a way.
It is.
And speaking of danger, that prophecy, it just hangs over the whole story.
Oh, it does.
Like a dark cloud.
Like a sword of Damocles.
This constant reminder that something terrible is coming, and no one knows how to stop it.
And as that prophecy unfolds, the tension between those two worlds, it just escalates.
It's like the whole town is holding its breath.
Waiting for the other shoe to drop.
And Harvey. Poor Harvey.
Hmm.
He's caught in the middle.
Torn between his love for Sabrina and his fear of the witch world.
It's like his loyalty is constantly being tested.
It is.
And his father, he's not making things any easier.
No, he's manipulating him.
Preying on his fears.
Using his love as a weapon.
It's heartbreaking to watch.
It is.
Because it shows how easily even the strongest bonds can be exploited. And as the threat of the Prince of Hell grows stronger, everyone is forced to choose a side.
The lines are being drawn.
The battle lines are forming.
And it's not just a fight for survival.
No.
It's a fight for the soul of Greendale.
A fight for the future.
Of both worlds. As we're getting to the end of this book,
Yeah.
it's striking how it moves beyond just witches and demons and prophecies.
Right.
And it digs into those human experiences we can all connect with.
Like what?
Love, loss, sacrifice, all playing out in this world where magic is so real, so powerful.
Yeah, those themes really hit hard, especially when you look at the characters. Sabrina especially, right? She's faced with this impossible choice.
Oh, totally. Two worlds, two loves, and such high stakes.
It's like, does she choose Harvey?
That familiar life, but maybe hiding who she truly is.
Or Nick and that pull of the witch world?
But maybe losing that connection to her human side?
It's like she's at a crossroads.
And both paths have their own dangers.
Totally. If she picks Harvey, she might put him in danger.
Exposing him to a world that's already hurt him.
But picking Nick, is that losing a part of herself?
It's such a classic dilemma, isn't it? Figuring out who we are versus who we want to be.
Yeah, and who we're drawn to.
And the author doesn't shy away from how complicated those feelings get.
And then there's the grief, too, you know? Sabrina and Harvey dealing with loss so differently.
Sabrina tries to control death, undo it with magic.
Which kind of shows how much she needs to be in control.
Yeah, struggling to accept things she can't change.
But Harvey, he's got no magic to fall back on.
No, he's got to face it head on. The permanence of it all.
No easy answers there.
It shows there's no one right way to grieve, right?
Absolutely. And magic, as powerful as it is, can't fix everything.
Sometimes healing means just feeling the pain.
Letting yourself hurt.
Sitting with that discomfort.
Yeah. And throughout the book, we see characters sacrificing for each other, putting others first.
Like Nick, always protecting Sabrina, no matter the risk.
It makes you think, is that true love or something else?
Maybe duty, an obligation because of who she is.
It's got to be a mix, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Drawn to her power, but also that genuine care.
That tenderness.
And Sabrina makes sacrifices too.
Oh, yeah, constantly putting herself out there.
For her friends, for Greendale.
Never backing down from a fight.
She's a true hero in that sense.
Not perfect. Makes mistakes.
But always fighting for what she believes in.
Even when it hurts.
And even Prudence. Remember how cold she seemed at first?
Oh, yeah.
Ends up making huge sacrifices too.
Her love for Judas, her baby brother, totally changes her.
It does.
It's amazing how a little kid can do that.
It's not just being sentimental, though.
Yeah.
It's taking on responsibility.
Putting someone else first.
That theme runs through the whole book.
It's through those sacrifices that they connect, you know?
Absolutely. They realize they're not alone.
Stronger together.
And as we get to the climax, the Prince of Hell, those bonds are tested to the max.
The stakes get so high.
It's a fight for survival, but also for what Greendale will become.
What kind of world they want. The tension is so thick you can feel it.
Yeah, and the author doesn't hold back. There's heartbreak, betrayal.
But also incredible courage, love that defies the odds.
And it's those connections, those bonds that make all the difference.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, what's the one thing our listeners should be thinking about?
I'd say it's the power of being your true self, even the messy parts.
Like Sabrina figuring out her witch and mortal sides.
Exactly. Or Prudence being a powerful witch and a loving sister.
Yeah, we're not just one label or experience
And it's
for it.
all those contradictions that make us human.
Well said. We've covered so much. Prophecies, witch hunters, what love really means. But Dawnra.pdf, at its heart, it's about finding your place.
Even when the world's falling apart around you.
It makes you think, makes you question things.
To our listener, keep exploring those stories that move you.
Until next time, happy reading, everyone.